When you think of the most iconic finishes to a game in the history of Thanksgiving, there's probably a few games that pop into mind. There's the infamous 1998 game between the Lions and the Steelers with the controversial coin toss fiasco. There's the 1980 classic between the Lions and the Bears, where the Bears were down 17-3 entering the fourth quarter, and scored the game-tying touchdown with no time left, and then scored on the overtime kickoff to stun the Silverdome crowd. And then there's the classic ending between the Dolphins and the Cowboys, with Leon Lett's infamous blunder. There have been many iconic endings to games played on Thanksgiving. And one of the craziest endings was in the 1986 shootout between the Lions and the Packers. You could easily make the argument that this back-and-forth affair was the greatest game ever played on Turkey Day. And its iconic finish was because of something a coach told a player not to do. And he did it anyway. This is the story behind Walter Stanley's memorable punt return to end this Thanksgiving classic. First, we need some context behind the play. It's November 27th, 1986, and the Green Bay Packers are traveling to the Pontiac Silverdome to take on the Detroit Lions. For the Packers, this game is completely meaningless. They're sitting at 2-10, tied with the Buccaneers for the worst record in the NFC. In fact, they're so bad that they have already been mathematically eliminated from postseason contention. As for the Lions, their season looked dead in the water after 10 weeks, when they were just 3-7. However, after back-to-back wins against the Eagles and the Buccaneers, they've worked themselves back into the playoff race. They've got long-shot odds, and they pretty much need to run the table to have a chance. But after their play over the past 2 weeks, at the very least, it seems like it could be an option. What happened in this NFC Central rivalry was one of the most entertaining games you're ever going to see, especially on Thanksgiving. The Lions jumped out to a 10-0 lead in the first, but by the end of the first, the Packers were on top 13-10. Green Bay led 23-13 midway through the second quarter, before Detroit scored 24 unanswered to lead 37-23 in the third. Just to recap so far, the Lions had a double-digit lead, then the Packers had a double-digit lead, only for the Lions to reclaim a double-digit lead. Detroit led 40-30 in the fourth quarter with about 4 minutes left. Then, the Packers scored after Randy Wright finds Paul Akaruth on a swing pass for an 11-yard touchdown. It's now 40-37 Lions in this shootout. Before going any further, it's important to note just how we got to this point. The main reason why the Packers were still in this game was because of the play of Walter Stanley. Stanley was drafted in the 4th round in 1985, and did nothing of note as a rookie. In fact, he didn't catch a single pass that year. While he became more of a player in the receiving game in 1986, up until this game, he had done nothing of note. Stanley had never scored a touchdown, and was held without a catch in 2 of his last 3 games. But on Thanksgiving, he was feasting. He scored his first ever touchdown from 21 yards out in the second quarter. Then he got the Packers back into the game with a 36-yard touchdown in the third quarter. And remember that 11-yard touchdown I showed earlier in the game to make it 40-37, giving the Packers a fighting chance down late? Well, that was set up by a 62-yard catch by Walter Stanley. He was having a career day. For a man who had not scored a touchdown in his 2 seasons in the league, he was looking like a seasoned veteran out there. And sometimes, when you're hot and on a roll, you think you're on top of the world. You think you're invincible, and that you can do just about anything. So when the Packers got a stop on defense, forcing the Lions to punt, Stanley went back there to field it. He had explicit instructions from head coach Forrest Gregg. Do not return this punt. Simply fair catch it. Nothing good can happen if you return this punt. Too much time is going to come off the clock, and there might even be a block in the back penalty that pushes Green Bay against its own end zone. I should also note that earlier in the season, the Packers played the Bears, and Walter Stanley had a punt return for a touchdown that got called back due to a block in the back. So Forrest Gregg's concerns were pretty well founded. Just wave your arm up, catch the punt, and do nothing else, and trust the offense to drive the 50 or so yards to get into field goal range. Stanley decides not to do that, and the end result was one of the greatest moments in Thanksgiving history.
But I would think I would go for the block. I mean, Jim Arnold is not the steadiest of punters. They've already blocked one. I think I'd go for it and hope that I didn't rough.
They're coming. He got it away and he got off it handy. Stanley at his own 20. He's had a big day. Reverses his field, gets the block, and he's got some room. One man left. It's Arnold. He's gone. He's gone.
And there's no flags.
No penalties. Three-yard return.
The Packers somehow have won this game 44-40. Stanley, who was a no-name around the league before this nationally televised game, was the hero. And after the game, he spoke about that decision on the punt.
Walter, tell me about that punt return. An 83-yarder with 41 seconds left to go in the ballgame. You set it up beautifully.
Well, the thing was, to be honest with you, all it really was, it was a block. It was supposed to be a block. I was supposed to fair catch the ball. I didn't want to fair catch it because I wanted to make something happen. You know, I feel that this is a game of take chances. You're either going to take chances to break one or you're not. And I took the chance.
My goodness, now I see why there weren't any blocks thrown. John Madden said there wasn't a block thrown on that punt return. Actually, you did it on your own, I guess, huh?
Well, exactly, because like I said before, it was supposed to be a punt block, and I was supposed to fair catch the ball, but we needed the points, so I went for it.
Mossy Cade, who was blocking on the play, said that he was shocked that Stanley did that. But then once he saw what was happening, he knew that if he got his block in, that Stanley was gone and they were going to win the ball game. As Cade said, "My eyes got real big. I was licking my chops." And Stanley spoke a bit after in the press conference, saying that he's expecting to make big plays and that if you want to be better than average, you're going to have to make big plays. As for Forrest Gregg, considering the fact that Stanley was the punt returner next week and the fact that the Packers won this game because of Stanley's heroics, I don't think he was too upset that Stanley disobeyed him. He said, "All I know is the guy is a good athlete and has a lot of heart. A lot of things can happen, and he did on that play. Walter had an outstanding game. I think they probably underestimated his ability a little bit. Nobody will be guilty of that again." Unfortunately for Stanley, this game was the only notable thing he did in his career. Whereas he had 3 touchdowns in this game, he had 3 touchdowns in the rest of his career, with 2 of them coming in the final week of the season in 1987 in a meaningless game against the New Orleans Saints. While Stanley played with the Packers until 1988 and played in the NFL until 1992, 50% of his touchdowns came in that one iconic Thanksgiving game against Detroit in 1986. And to think, his most iconic touchdown ever, and one of the most iconic touchdowns in the history of the NFL on Thanksgiving, came because he did something he was told not to do. You can bet he was feeling pretty thankful afterwards that it worked out. Be sure to like this video, ring the notification bell, and subscribe down below if you haven't already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out Twitch every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL trivia and win cash prizes. Link in the description below. If you want to see videos like this condensed down to 60 seconds, then follow me on TikTok at Jaguargator9 and subscribe to 60-Second NFL History on YouTube. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. So you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.